Hello, everyone. Welcome to CyTopic. Welcome back to the Mouflon table. Today, I have my dearest comrades, Mr. Halef Kurt, the journalist, Mr. Berker Çika, our CyTopic editor and manager, and of course, we have Hüseyin Erdalı, who is our great commentator. Today, we want to discuss some topics. We want to ask you, does the Cypriot people really want to unite the island? And does the Erhürman's four-point methodology, did it become redundant? Has it become or treated as a backup plan or reduced to three points or essentially changed? And does Hakan Fidan's statement and how it bothered Mr. Asım Akansoy, the parliament member, how does it work out in this future solution? And where's the disconnect between the Northern parliaments and the Turkish institutions? And we want to discuss that. And I'm going to start with Mr. Halef here, our great journalist friend. Yes, Mr. Halef, the ball is on your court.
I think you just came up broad, like it's very broad topic. To be honest, I did my homework today about the European Union and Cyprus, but I didn't made my homework in English, so therefore I could have some difficulties on terminology this time. But if I were to start from the methodology of Erhürman, to be honest, we had a meeting, the youth civil society organizations had a meeting with Erhürman, and Erhürman gave a brief about the Cyprus problem. And in that meeting, Erhürman told us that what's happening, the proposal which is coming through the media that we are seeing or we are not, Erhürman told us that the new initiative is creating or getting prepared by looking for the 4 points methodology of Erhürman. Therefore, Erhürman also telling that I won't go to any informal meeting, if my 4 point of methodology is not going to be accepted or it's going to be the background of the new informal meetings. Therefore, as a start, I could tell that Erhürman is still holding on this position where he is giving importance to this 4 points of methodology. And in addition to this, the new initiative of Guterres, the new framework, or we could say, is getting prepared for this 4 point of methodology. So for the start, I can tell this one and give you the ball so I can continue.
Actually, there's one thing that I don't understand. I know Tufan Erhürman mentions that for the first point, he says the political equality and rotating presidency should be accepted, but terminologically, not the. He doesn't want a signed agreement or something like that. I don't understand what he means like that. I didn't understand what he expects Christodoulides to do or explain or announce so that Tufan Erhürman would be like, okay, he accepted this point, honestly. I don't know if you guys know about this, but I checked and I couldn't find it.
Sorry for interrupting, but that's derives from the rotational presidency. I think on the latest speech of Christo, he told that why this is necessary, because there's going to be veto power and this and that. But Erhürman is telling that the political equality needs also rotational presidency, because if you're going to have a solution which is going to live by years and years, Erhürman is telling that the country needs also a Turkish Cypriot president. Therefore, he's telling that we need rotational presidency. On the other hand, Christo seems this one like a trademark. Like, okay, we can make rotational presidency, but he also wants something. But in this negotiation, Erhürman is telling that no, the political equality includes also rotational presidency. So there is the catch between the disputes for the two leaders.
Why don't they just, I don't know, if I were to Tufan Erhürman, I think I would propose signing the Guterres framework as a strategic agreement, like Mustafa Akıncı did. because the political equality is there. The rotating presidency, Guterres mentioned that in the points. And he also mentioned like other points as well in the framework. And obviously, Tufan Erhürman says the convergences agreed on the Crans-Montana should be saved. If you sign this as a strategic agreement, you would also say those convergences as well. So you wouldn't start from scratch. I don't understand why he didn't propose this. Maybe he doesn't want to trigger Turkey in another way, like, oh, we want to continue from Crans-Montana. I can understand that. But I think this would make Greek Cypriot a bit like, a Greek Cypriot leader come a bit more under the spotlight. Like, does he really want to go for it or not?
Sorry to both, just to jump in. I'm believing it's more about like the give and take part of the table, and I believe there is a great take, like our dear friend Tim said. I think the take could be the right of interventions of guarantor powers. I believe for the rotative presidency, we will propose that that part of the guarantors, or maybe there's like no guarantor or NATO guarantee, like there's a change of guarantee. And everyone said, I mean, the United Nations General Secretary said like the guarantor, the 1960s model of guarantorship is very outdated. But just by saying that, I don't think it's enough to convince the sides, the side of the table, like Greek and Turkish side of the table. So to convince the Turkish side of the table, they will have to do this give and take game, and I highly believe rotating presidency is a tool of kind of to get that. Yeah,
I'm gonna say something very utopic, but obviously this is called a negotiation, and there will be give and takes. But my personal belief is that when you are approaching to build a new nation with a flag, an identity, and a future ahead, assuming thousands of years, we are creating a future with, a legacy, I guess, a future legacy with such a disgustingly divisive past. You shouldn't negotiate. You should try to create a long-lasting legacy with one identity. Therefore, I find it very redundant for the negotiations to happen. However, obviously, this is very utopic, and there are sides, and there are negotiation tables, and there are people who has priorities and needs and wants, and obviously some representations due to the distress happening between the that happened in the past. Basically, how I see Tufan Erhürman's position, especially on the rotational presidency, is that a fundamental point of Tufan is Turkish Cypriots do not want minority rights. They have co-founder and partnership rights, and having a rotational presidency is a very symbolic way of putting this onto the table. It's like, we are co-founders. Yes, we are a minority in terms of population, but we are here, and you cannot just be in the driver's seat just like in the 1960s. And Dr. Fazıl Küçük has a very nice statement. He said that Makarios was driving, but he had the brake. So Makarios pulled the direction of the Republic, but when Dr. Fazıl Küçük didn't want it, he would just pull the brakes down and the car would stop. That didn't work. That clearly didn't work. So this time I believe, and I believe Tufan thinks the same thing, is that the Turkish Cypriots wants to be in the driver's seat as well, maybe for 4 to 2 years or 5 to 2 years or whatever the term was. And essentially, they want to be effective participation in the decision-making and direction. And the rotational presidency seems like, on paper, a great idea to have the Turkish Cypriots in rotational, in decision-making. Just basically, that's my analysis. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to very quick add these questions that we received from a Reddit user. And so he's, as I understand, he's a Turkish person, and he's asking, so he was questioning about the logic of desiring a federation in Cyprus, because he believes that it will assimilate us. So like it will assimilate the Turks because he thinks Turkish Cypriots are like basically Turks. But anyway, other than that, it will assimilate us to become something. I don't understand that part, but yeah, how can we protect ourselves culturally and in any way from that? And can we get our rights in federation because we are minority, basically? And so he argues that being a two-state is better. So personally, I think he approaches from really wrong direction, but I want to get your opinion and your explanation, your quick explanation onto this question slash statement, because it was a post in Reddit. So, I mean, I probably didn't say it fully correctly, but it was basically the main idea was this: why are you desiring federation? You are a minority. Why should they give you their rights? They are not stupid. And this is basically what he said, by the way. I'm not making it up. So, yeah. What do you guys think?
I can start. I think the very simple answer is, if one side wants to claim the Cypriot identity to be Greek Cypriot or Turkish Cypriot, the fundamental Cypriot identity is multicultural. Without Turkish Cypriots, there would be no Greek Cypriots, and without Greek Cypriots, there would be no Turkish Cypriots, because without Turkish Cypriots, the Greek Cypriots would be just Greek living on the island of Cyprus, because there wouldn't be the cultural interaction. And same for Turkish Cypriots as well. There wouldn't be the cultural interaction and the mix and match of it, and how history affects us. That's why the point of criticism comes from purely creating the Greek Cypriot identity and the Turkish Cypriot identity bare bones, assuming that they are Greek, you are Turkish, therefore any compatibility that can happen, one side must be assimilated in terms of language, religion, culture, etc. It completely disregards the common culture that we have, the common lifestyle that we also have, the common the commonality between the two communities, essentially. That's my very basic argument on why peace should happen and why peace needs to happen on the island. And you can go and put this into a legal frame, an existential frame, functionalistic frame, where, okay, you don't believe in identities, but the functional situation is, if two communities of the island work together, we get better life, they get better life, there is no need to fight. You have, in a completely functionalist, utilitarian perspective. You know, this is just very basic logic, I think.
Okay, I just want to add. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I agree, obviously, but yeah, in order for someone saying, do you want to join with Greek Cypriots? Do you want to be a minority under a federal solution? I think people say that because they simply don't understand the concept of federal government or power sharing, or how this equality will work. Because federation means like cooperation between two states, but under a single government, under a single umbrella, basically. Each side will have their own state. They will have a common federal government. They will for day-to-day life, they're gonna be on their own. But for bigger picture policies and stuff, they're gonna need to make some cooperations. And as long as you have political equality, as long as you have similar rights, not similar rights, the same rights under federal government, you won't become a minority, because that's not what federation is. A federal state is there because we don't want the population, I don't want to call them ethnic group, but I want to say the population with higher number, not to overrule the rights of the minority. That's why we have federal states and federation.
Also, guys, remember, the aim of peacemaking is not to divide island and get your population up with alternative fake numbers and then rejoin and then claim more rights. Well, at least we Cypriots do not think or do not perceive like that our future, our island. We want to be Cypriots. So, and you cannot just make someone, like, you cannot born, if, how can I say, like, it's not that easy to increase this Cypriot population, indigenous population by default. So what you gotta do is either you bring diaspora, or just that's it, or you just join as it is. And it's never should be the aim. Like my dear friend Ork said, the aim is never popping up your numbers and coming and joining with more rights. I'm sorry, I don't know about your countries, but in Cyprus, we do not have this belligerent way of looking. And the world, the United Nations, the EU, America, everyone, and even China, Russia, everyone agrees that the solution, the way forward, is bizonal, Bicommunal federation. And if you have a problem, well, you can have a problem. You're alone in the world for 51 years. No one cares about your country's ideas and stuff. Well, come to table, talk with us. Let's argue. Is the federation better? Is trizonal, bizonal, Swiss model, this and that, or we cannot import any other models, like one of our friends said. We can talk about that, yes, but if you're gonna just talk baseless stuff, well, I feel like it's a bit like, don't get us wrong, of course we would like to answer for like everything, but it's a bit like just not understanding, not even making a proper research about Cyprus problem, and just wasting people's time, just talking your narratives, you know, like your country's narratives. All right, so people are asking us, is there a will from the Cypriot people? Does the Cypriot people want unification in the island? The short answer is yes, with at least 73%, and it varies from many people to people about the model of the unification. Well, I just wanted to, without entering any data, because I didn't prepare for that, I just want to say for the people who's questioning that they can look at the post-Annan Plan era, like 2003 and 2004, since we opened the barricades, the cross points, cross check. Yeah. We did like almost never had any serious issues.
One point that I want to mention, I think wanting solution is one thing, but yes, I think people want solution as well, but they're also a bit afraid of breaking the status quo, because people, this is a bit like sociology field, but people got used to the current status quo. They know where they are in right now, and they're a bit hesitant to move away from this status quo because they don't know if it's going to be better or worse for them. That's why I think it's important in Tufan Erhürman's 4 points. He also mentions that we shouldn't return back to status quo, which I think is really important as well, because I don't think unless we break the current status quo, unless we move out of our comfort zone, yes, it might not be very comfortable for all of us, the current status quo, but unless we move away from that status quo, we're not gonna have the encourage to, we're not gonna be very courageous about moving away from the status quo ever again, because whatever we discuss, we always end up in the same position. And when we end up in the same position, we are like, okay, we can talk about this all on and on, but we're gonna end up in our good old status quo. And I guess this is better than what may fail in the future, or anything that might be even worse than the status quo. So let's stay here. That's why I think the 4th point of Tufan Erhürman is really important. Let's break the status quo and move further, because unless we break it, we're not gonna make any solid progress, I think.
I just want to interject and give my thoughts about it. Some statistics: 54% of Greek Cypriots this beginning of this year support peace. You can check the statistics, or you can ask for the sources later on. Turkish Cypriots, it's obviously 74 to 78%, and it's probably even more. Just people don't want to admit it. And the reason why people want peace, and the other alternative is status quo, they don't want any other separate one, I just want to point that out, is that peace in every single form of epistemological dissection, where you try to come to the truth and to the basic foundation, is the only way to move. If you are a liberal, if you are a fundamentalist, utilitarian, if you are a leftist, rightist, you can all agree that cooperation is beneficial to everyone. And the status quo itself only benefit a number of handful of people. The only argument for status quo is that it is the fear of the unknown. Everyone is afraid of change. Everyone wants to stay where they are, where they know it's safe, and they don't want to change the system that they know and used to. It's because they've been living in this system for 50 years now, maybe even more. And I think people need to get more educated. Yes, Mr. Beck.
Yes, I just wanted to say, even if like they have this fear of unknown, I believe that the system, the status quo, cannot last even to their sons or their daughters, because the system is not designed for that. Well, in the beginning, we had the Turkish Cypriot federative little state that we had, like before TRNC. Like, it's the best example. But once we have this, like, once we have the TRNC, now they are also talking about, like, maybe you guys heard, like, making, like, removing the N, like the North, from the name. So it's always evolving. It's either evolving to the right side or the left side. Doesn't matter. I believe, genuinely, from any kind of ideology, apart from any ideologies, I believe status quo, like the separation, cannot be last. It's gonna either be like, it's either gonna hopefully reunite, like as a Cypriot, or reunite with one motherland, and because economically and people-wise you're connected to there. So even if you're Turkish Cypriot who is like from right or left, you probably know that. So I believe we're just all playing against time here. That's all I want to point out.
I think I can jump in here. Oh, sorry, there was a hand, but I just jumped in. If you want, I can continue, or you can take the...
No, I was just going to ask you a question as well, but go on.
Oh, okay. To be honest, I do believe that the status quo is very strong. Because what I saw, there was I think, speech of Özdinlami, where he was telling that he was talking about the rumors of new initiation coming from the Guterres, and he said that if Turkish Cypriot community gives Maraş, Omorfo, and Mesarya, one of the places in the middle of the Cyprus, which is now controlled by the Turkish zone, he said that why the Greek Cypriots gonna ask for any solution in the referendum? Therefore, I do believe that when he was telling this, he is also making the mind that the people does not have huge problems with status quo. Indeed, there is lots of problems because of the status quo, not just affecting the Turkish Cypriots, but affecting Greek Cypriots as well. But some adjustments could really freeze the status quo. Like it can actually, what I meant is, it can boost the status quo. For an example, when we talk about the 4-point methodology of Erhürman, the last part, he is telling that the direct flights, direct trade is going to became the issue if the Greek Cypriots going to veto or get out from the negotiation table. So let's assume that we're going to have direct trade, direct relations, and direct flight in northern part of the island. I do believe that I'm 100%, not 100%, but what I meant that I think status quo is going to be very favorable. And I think it is very important to understand that. For an example, Doruk gave us a very important statistic, is that it is telling that a huge, I think 70% of the people is asking for a solution. But on the other hand, when we look to the Annan plan, we saw that, again, something like 70% of people said no. Indeed, we want solution, but the type of solution or how the solution will came creates the problem in order to have this kind of solution. So I think I'm a little bit, I think the right word is pessimist. I'm a little bit pessimist about how strong or weak is status quo, because I do believe that status quo is too strong. I do believe that not the people, but status quo gives to the elites a chance to get lots of advantage from the system. Indeed, the community and people don't like it. The elites are having their gains. And I do believe that as a last sentence, the people is also not harming a lot because they're not doing revolution or they're not making any riots. I think that they're also a little bit happy about it, not happy as elites, but I think that's the reason why status quo is a little bit strong, and I think because of the negotiation table, it could be more stronger.
Just want to add on your points. Well, like I do not exactly think like you, but I respect and I understand why you think like that. I think that like, so first of all, anyone in the north, doesn't matter you're like settler or indigenous, anyone will want EU citizenship, right? So that's another factor that why they want a complete solution, not a halfway. And another and most important thing is it's unlawful, like that we made a video. I think it was in Turkish, right? No, I think it was in Turkish. We're explaining why TRS is not recognized and is connected to that. And another thing is the advantages of possible solution being really high right now with the customs union, with the safe arms deal and stuff, and many more actually that I don't want to list it here. Also, another thing and the last thing is the EU will never accept that because I really don't remember now. I wish I remember. EU said that they want to see only one leadership in island of Cyprus. They don't want to see two leaders. I think you also read that, Halef, right? So in light of everything, I understand why you think like that. That's also another possibility. But I just at the end, I just don't think and hope it's something like that. Yes, Turk.
I just want to say that Halef's being pessimistic is totally acceptable. However, you give examples of a two-state solution where if we get the international airports, the international port, direct trade, direct communication with each other, that's essentially TRNC becoming a different state anyway. That's two-state solution. And I know it, you know it, and everyone on the planet knows who can read the international law, who understands the Cyprus problem. That's impossible. That's impossible. With what leadership will you get the direct international airport unless the Greek Cypriots agree to give it? That's why the recent rumors, which is a very nice topic that we want to get into, the rumors are a lie. They are a lie. It is not sound logic. It defeats the purpose of negotiations. If we give Varosha, they will give us international airport meaning recognized by everyone on the planet, and they can directly come and fly to us. I mean, does that make sense? Is that a sound exchange? Will the Greek Cypriots even agree to this? I think the United Nations would never even give this trade up. However, what sounds like a good trade is, or a very bare minimum thing is, we can open Varosha together, right, with the funding of EU, have a very natural two community part of the land. Obviously, Greek Cypriots take their land back, but we control it in our area, and we have a pro-EU common state. We can do a peace test run there, and if there are any conflicts, then we know what to do or whatever. That makes more sense. And this is like me pulling this out of nowhere, right? I guess not out of nowhere. In 2018, Ersin Tatar, Kudret Özertay, UBP, HDP coalition imagined something like this, reopening Varosha under United Nations Charter. But that's the only plausible scenario. Anyway, Mr. Hussein, please go ahead.
I kind of think a bit like mix and match from what you said, Doruk, and what Halef said. I also think when we make status quo more comfortable, everyone's gonna be happy and they're not gonna want to change it. Like if you remember, like 2 or 3 months ago, when the crossings there were too much traffic on the crossings, everyone was like, we need solution now. They've opened the gates, no borders, no whatever. And now they expanded the crossing in the Lefkoşa a bit, and now no one talks about it. No one actually talks about it. So in order for people to actually want and root for federation, I'm not talking about federation, root for a solution, the people need to get out of their comfort zone. That's the only way, I think. But I also agree. If we give, and I also agree with those dynamics, if we give Varosha back to, I'm not going to say back to their rightful owners, if we give it to Greek Cypriots, and if we get direct flights under Republic of Cyprus regulations, whatever, then what incentive are we going to have for a solution? Like, what are we going to what are we gonna need to have a solution? Because Turkish Cypriots, they have EU citizenship. They can always cross south to fly from Larnaca and have a direct flight. And Greek Cypriots will have a Varosha back and compensate their people. So what are we gonna have to negotiate about? What are we gonna need to share power, for example? Because everyone's gonna have their own states.
I just want to say real quick, like we all talk about, like, if we give this land, if we do this, but let's be realistic. From what I see from their statements of the Republic of Turkey and their ministries, I think their respective ministries, what I saw is they're really not interested in doing any of that, because the Turkish narratives are always never give a piece of land, no inch, nothing, nada. So I'm thinking, like, do you guys really think that you can make a people convinced about that, even for advantages? What, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much Facebook comments. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But what I'm seeing is people were really furious about it. People were not happy about it. And I just want to mention that.
You give me the
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
okay.
Gentlemen.
I think here is the catch. I had little bit meetings about these rumors, and what I have learned is that maybe something like 50 or the 60% of the rumors are true. I was also get shocked because of this, but they're 50 and 60% true. But here is the catch. The most important part of Berk was also mentioning is this. For example, giving land is a irreversible thing for transitional period. For an example, let's assume that we are going into a referendum. And in this referendum, there's going to be a transitional period, as the rumor says, and this is true. And there's going to be confidence building measurements, and this is true. But let's assume that we are going to give a land. We are going to give Maraş, for an example. And let's back again assume that the Greek Cypriots said no in the referendum. And what's going to happen? This is an irreversible confidence building measurement. Are we going to tell that, okay, you said no, so get out from Maraş, please? Like, can we say this? No. I think Turkey's position or maybe also the Turkish Cypriot position, but at least I can say guarantee for Turkey, is that they don't want to give any land in this transitional period. I'm 100% sure that, not 100, but let's say 99% sure that Turkey diplomats, Turkey foreign affairs minister and the people who works in there know that Turkey Cypriots going to give land in the negotiations, but not in the transitional period because it's irreversible confidence building measurements. Therefore, I think in this kind of a timeline where there's lots of rumors and there's also elections coming up, I think we hear lots of about we are not going to give land, we are not going to do this. Indeed, I do believe that in the transitional period, we are not going to give any land because it's an irreversible thing. But on the other hand, I'm also sure that in the negotiation table, we are going to give a land because even Denktaş did. And I think it was 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago that I was reading the articles of the Denktaş, and it was saying that we were going back to 27% of the island was going to be owned by Turkish Cypriots, like he was giving 6 or 7% of the island in the negotiation table. This is the reality in the Cyprus problem because it's not owned by us, the lands. Therefore, as a summary, irreversible things, I don't believe that they cannot happen. And as far as I learned, the irreversible confidence building measurements in the rumors are not true. But the reversible ones, such as direct trade, such as direct flights, are true. The rumors, what I meant. Because for an example, let's assume that there's going to be confidence building measurement that to Turkish Cypriots going to have a chance to make a direct trade. And after the referendum, for example, Turkish Cypriots said no, it is very easy to stop the direct trade and direct flights. But for an example, giving land, you cannot do it. Therefore, I think the confidence building measurements is going to be built from these ideas and the rumors, final sentence, the rumors about irreversible confidence building measurements are true, as far as I learned from the diplomatic rumors.
Sorry, Halef, I know you said final words, but I'm going to ask you a question, so it's not going to be. We know that Guterres' term will end by the end of this year. And do you think he may risk the long-term benefit of Cypriots just to prove that he made a progress within his term?
I think it is a very great question. And this question actually has two answers. The first answer, the pessimistic answer, came from Kudret Özer's side. And he said that it's too romantic to think that Guterres is going to make a progress because this is last term, last month, and he's going to make a progress. Why? Like, he says, why you are too romantic about it? And I think he has a sense in there. But on the other hand, I hear the optimistic answer more. Lots of people is telling that Guterres wants to create a transitional initiative before going out. He knows that he's not going to be the person, he's not going to be the one to solve the Cyprus problem. But what I heard, the optimistic answers are true. Before ending this period, he wants to create an initiative which is going to have a transitional period before referendum. And this transitional period, even maybe you are not going to believe it, but this transitional period may have Bicommunal council, which is going to be, how can I say, going to be operate in such areas, for example, maybe about the sea laws, or maybe about the foreign policy. Bicommunal council, represented by the Turkish leader and Greek leader, and it's going to be in the transitional period. And as I heard, this is not like a rumor, but it's something like real. But I don't know. On the other hand, as the last sentence back again, the Greek Cypriots can tell that this is a recognition by application. We don't want Turkey Cypriot leader to become our co-partner in council in this transitional period. It could create problem in the informal meetings upcoming. But on the other hand, I do believe that the optimistic answer for your question is on the ground. I do believe, and I heard also in that kind of answer.
So I have one more question. Like, it's going to be a bit more general, but what you said was the Bicommunal Council was really interesting, and you said they're going to focus on some important topics like sea laws, etc. Could this be because we know how Turkey is sensitive about this blue homeland narrative, and they have a bit of a disagreement with Greece in the Aegean? Do you think they want to settle this EEZ problem with Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus? That's why they may establish a bicommunal council so that the Turkish Cypriots and Greece Cypriot can have a final say on the EEZs, and Turkey will solve this problem with Greece, Cyprus, etc., so that we can go to referendum and get a yes vote.
To be honest, I feel like when I'm speaking, I give like parts of the puzzle, and every time you are asking questions, you are bringing the puzzles and making them more clear page. Here's the answer, I think, for your question is that Holguin is not doing her visits for only visiting Ankara or Athena. No, she's not doing this only for just visiting and talking with people. She is asking, for an example, to Hakan Fidan, why you may support a solution. And for an example, Fidan is telling that because we have a doctrine of blue homeland, because we want to export oil from here, catch one. After she goes to Greece, she's asking why you could support a federal solution, why you could support this idea and this, that. And Athena gives their ideas as well. She is coming to the island, asking Erhürman telling his 4-point methodology. And she's also going to Hristo, and Hristo is also giving his ideas. And I do believe that this initiative is not just built from top to bottom approach, but I do believe that it's created from bottom to top. Like the leaders, the guarantor leaders, the guarantor, how can I have the leaders, I can say, giving their opinions about what could be the advantage for all the actors. And I think the initiative is creating from that. To be honest, I am not that, how can I say, I don't have any knowledge about or information about the silos or what could be the advantage for all the actors. But I can surely say that what we are hearing or what we are learning is deriving from the ideas and needs of all the actors. So if we saw that there's going to be confidence building measurements for silos, and if it's true, that means that these people needs this. And again, back again, if we hear that the Greek Cypriots they want Marash, from media we are hearing this, I do believe that it's 100% sure that, or again, 99% sure that, the Greek Cypriots indeed want Marash. So that's why rumors are coming up like this. So I think it is very important that, I think in this period, what we are hearing or what we are learning is all the needs of the communities. Therefore, I think they are all important. Like this time, what we are hearing is very important. It's not just like rumors equals to lies, but I think this time rumors equals to what people or the leaders is asking for. Like Ulaş Barış wrote an article, I think it was last week. He said that bu sefer işler ciddi, which means that this time is serious. And I do believe that this time is serious. I think there's different things coming up. And I think we're gonna see a different period.
Summer is gonna be hot. I say summer.
I just want to ask one final question. 5 minutes of question. You said that the rumors are 50% true. We might get direct trade. How will that work? Will it be under the green checkpoints, the green law, whatever that was? Yeşil hat.
Green line.
So let me start from this. First part, the technical part, or maybe not technical, but Ercan is ready for this. Ercan Airport, also the new Ercan Airport, is upgraded, and the technology is good in there. But the catch is this. I think it is not very legitimate or logical. It's not logical to answer your question directly, because it's going to be like this. The whole Green is going to ask Greek Cypriots or the Greek Cypriot leadership, would you accept, or what is the catch for you to accept the direct trade or direct flights for the Turkish Cypriot community? And for an example, Hristo could ask for a land. And this is an irreversible confidence building measurements. And let's assume that the Turkish Cypriots will refuse it. And maybe this will be the red line of the Hristo. Nothing's going to happen. So I'm not logically answering your question, how's this going to happen? But I'm answering your question that what's the catch for the Greek Cypriots to accept direct flights? I think there is the catch. There is the answer for your question. Yes.
So I'm going to say one small thing as well. We have in North, we have a like nice and huge palace now. And everyone knows in North that it's way big for our small parliament. This might be the new headquarters for the bicommunal, I don't know, committee, or maybe bicommunal governments, maybe we can say. But also, what I believe is one final note, and we know that Turkey, the EEZ is a bit hot potato topic for Turkey. They feel trapped, because they feel like Cyprus, Greece, Israel, they're all working in the Eastern Mediterranean, and they're pushing them aside, they're sidelining them. And Turkey getting what he wants from Eastern Mediterranean might be a bit more relaxed and chill about the Cyprus problem. So who knows, I guess.
One final question.
There you go.
What would the Greek Cypriots want in return of direct trade, except for land? Is there anything else that the Turkish Cypriot community can provide? Well, Turkey can provide.
Perfect question. You answered your question.
One.
You answered your question. Like, what could give Turkey, like what Turkey could give Greek Cypriots in order to have advantage from negotiation?
The
And
gas
I think that-
pipeline.
Yeah. And the answer is, the first and most important answer is the ports. Like, for an example, if Turkey is gonna recognize the ports of the South Cyprus or Republic of Cyprus, that means that they could, they're gonna be access the Turkey products much easier, because Turkey has the cheapest labor in Europe. They have the cheapest stuff when you compare with the European Union. So for Cyprus, it's gonna be very important advantage for the usage of the ports. And secondly, the flights, because sometimes we may see that when Cyprus wants to, or Cypriot airplanes wants to go to the countries in front of Turkey, they need to fly like this. They need to fly across Turkey, which costs fuel and this kind of stuff. So for the trade and for the flights, there is the other important advantage for Greek Cypriots. And the thirdly, the gas. Like, we know that there is gas under Cyprus, but why Greek Cypriots are not exploiting their gas for maybe 8 years, 10 years? We are speaking the gas for 10 years. Why Cyprus is not taking? We are hearing that the French bought the parcels, Italy bought the parcels. Why they're not taking the gas? Because there is Turkey. Like, Turkey is very important actor in this region, in Mediterranean as well. Therefore, they need Turkey's acceptance in order to get this gas. Therefore, the flights, the ports, and the gas is the most important takes for Greek Cypriots from Turkey in order to accept anything rather than the land.
I believe that Turkey also needs to be more cooperative, or like a bit more flexible about the Mavi Vatan, and also the alliance, like the Greece and Cyprus. I'm not even gonna mention the other one. Yeah, they need to be more cooperative, and I believe that the reason why Turkey is not accepting the EEZs is because there's like an international agreement of waters, and Turkey is not a part. Turkey is not a co-signer. I think that the United States of America is also not a party in that agreement, and Turkey. I think it's like very few countries, like Turkey and United States. So that's why they have this problem of recognizing, and they have their problems with Greece because of the little islands and expanding the little islands EEZ, you know, how much zone they can have. But I believe at the end of the day, if they trying to find the middle ground, they can easily find it. Like, there are worse geographies, more hostile countries who agreed, you know. I think they can do that. I think they're smart enough. And Cyprus can be a really great catalyst for that, like Mr. Hussein and Bella said.
I think this was an absolutely amazing episode, especially this last part. I think we need to edit that and like have it as a special episode. I would like to thank, firstly, to Mr. Halef Kurt to give us his absolute divine wisdom for the Cyprus problem. Thank you very much, Halef. I would like to have another episode with you again. I would like to also thank Mr. Berk and Mr. Hussein as well for their commentary, their amazing questions, and their insightful insights. And yes, thank you very much for watching, everyone. And we hope to see you more, and we hope to see your love. So put it down in the comments, or your criticisms or comments. We always read them. So thank you very much, everyone.
See you guys. Thank you very much.